Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Today we are going to finish up our carb and manifold swap, get those valve covers on, take a look at the oil pump, and get that all together, and then it's going to make some noise. So now, time to get those valve covers on. So in the spirit of donating more parts, these are actually the Blazer's old valve covers. The ones that were on the truck were just so bad, and they had rust holes in them. I didn't know you could have rust holes in a valve cover, because it's usually full of oil. Anywho, quick coat of paint on these, just some basic Chevy orange. So yeah, time to seal them up. And before you put the gasket on, you really got to make sure that this flange is nice and straight. You don't want any dents or wiggles, and a lot of times the holes are going to be dented in, so basically just want to take something and smack them straight with a hammer. Usually put a block of something behind here and tap them from the underside. You can even put a socket there and then kind of make them a little bit stick up a little bit, then they'll compress a little better. But these are nice and good, so don't really have to mess with that. So the number one way to do this, to keep these from leaking with a corked gasket, is to first start by gluing the gasket down to the valve cover. So you can use rubber cement, which is one thing I like to use at work. Today we're going to be using the Permatex High-Tack gasket sealant. It's pretty good stuff. And if you're really desperate, you can use RTV, but that'll basically make it impossible to ever remove the gasket. So, because the nice thing with these is that you can, the nice thing with this stuff is that you can peel this off and stick it back on if you need to. So what we're going to do is take our sealant. Very stringy. So what we're going to do is take our sealant and paint the inside. Just a nice thin coat all the way around. Then we're going to do the same to our gasket. I like to do it on the cardboard that it came with, like this. That way I've got less mess to clean up. Alright, now you just wait about 5 minutes or so, let this stuff get all tacky, and then you can stick it right on. And while you're waiting for that, that gives you plenty of time to do the other one. Alright, now that we've waited, flip this over and stick that right on. Kind of massage it into place, get all those holes to line up. Perfect. Now there's one last step. Now we're going to take some grease and rub it into the gasket. This is going to do two things. Firstly, it's going to add an extra little layer to help it seal. The other thing it's going to do is keep it from sticking to the cylinder head. That way, whenever you take the valve cover off, the gasket will come with the valve cover and then be reusable. So, just going to smear that like so. And if want, you can also really work it in there. Make sure you get it in the pores. Now it's ready to go on the engine. Now we're just going to put our screws in. Now we just cinch them up. Honestly, this screwdriver is, this nut driver is probably as tight as I really need to make them. You don't want to go super tight. You want to let the gasket do the job. If you go too tight, you can A, deform the valve cover, B, just kind of squeeze the gasket out. Extra tight on it. I'm just going to go cut just like one extra turn tighter than where I had it before. Just kind of snug. And there we go. Alright, so now I've got to pull the oil pan. It's pretty much just a couple screws, take them all out, and then just kind of thwack it with a hammer, and should just come right down. Also drain your oil first. Alright, got all the bolts out. It's just stuck on the gasket. Turns out I had to take off a little more than I thought. First being the starter, which is just flopped over there. Don't worry, the battery's disconnected. The little inspection shield on the torque converter, took that off because it was in the way of the rearmost bolts. And then the exhaust, because the Y pipe sat like right here, so I probably wouldn't have been able to get the pan all the way out with the exhaust in place. So that was just, 3 bolts at each flange. I don't have much of an exhaust on this truck, so that's pretty easy. But anyway, now that we're ready, it's time to thwack that with a hammer. Well, maybe some prying is in order, but anyway, that should come off pretty easy, and then we can take a look inside. Alright guys, taking that oil pan off was a huge pain in the butt. It's actually now a few days later, and I had to break out the engine hoist. I tried just using one of those engine support bars, but A, it wasn't long enough, and B, I just started denting my fenders and it was super sketch. So I had to actually unbolt the engine mounts and then pick it up with the cherry picker just so I could get the oil pan off. So kind of a nightmare. It's so much easier on the Blazer, so I just assumed it would be easy on this. It is not. So now I've exposed the oil pump. There should just be that bolt right there to take it off. And also while we're in here, I'm going to wiggle these connecting rods. And they all so far feel pretty good. So not really concerned about any of that. We can also look underneath and see the pistons and the piston skirts and the bottom side of the bore for what that's worth. But yeah, I'm just gonna pull that oil pump off and see what it looks like inside. Alright, so now we've made it to the very messy workbench, and I'm going to take this oil pump apart and we are going to investigate. Also clearing a space and putting down a paper towel, because cleanliness is important. We'll ignore the clutter. So in here should be some gears, and what I'm kind of hoping is that these gears are chewed up and scored. If they're not, then this pump is probably fine. Definitely a little bit of wear on the face. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if you can see that, but it is definitely chewed up. I don't know how much that's going to affect the efficiency, but it's at least something wrong with this that gives me reason to change it out for something else. Yeah. Cool. Like I said, this will probably work fine, but I don't want to risk it. Alright, pardon the mess. I got a lot going on, but we've got our old oil pump and our new one. Got the pickup mostly installed, just kind of mostly tapped in there. I'm going to try to send it home a little bit more. But I'm using this edge as kind of a top to see, to set our oil pickup level. And it looks like this guy's going to kind of have to be a little bit lower to keep this relatively flat. I think this is probably good right now where it is, but we'll see. The main thing is this is a substantially larger pump than this guy. This is the high volume pump, and I believe it's the same pump as in a big block. So I'm just going to bolt this onto the engine and then measure the height of this pickup from the rails on the bottom of the block, and then measure the oil pan, and then hopefully that's all good and I don't have any fouling, and then I can put this on for real. So now to set the height of the pickup, we're going to have to measure the depth of the oil pan. So I've got just a piece of angle iron right there. Take your tape measure, dip it in, and depending on where we are, so down closer to the front we're right around 7 inches. Closer to the middle we're at 6 3/4. So now what we got to do is mount the oil pump up and really just adjust that height, that height of that float, or not float, but pickup. And there we go. Got the oil pump installed. Got the bolt torqued down. Torqued it to 65 foot-pounds. The specs I saw say that it basically fits between either between 60 or 70, so I figured 65. So what we're going to do is measure off the block And there's a little piece that comes in right here. And, oh, where are we? We're just around 6 3/4 to 7 inches. The actual oil pump itself hangs down pretty low, so that's somewhat of a concern, but I think we're okay. Basically, the pickup just needs to pretty much just be where, kind of in line with the bottom of the pump, maybe just a skosh below. So I think we're pretty good. One downside I did notice while I was mocking everything up, I am going to actually have to trim the baffle in the oil pan because this part of the pickup is probably going to foul. Can't completely guarantee, but the pan's like right here, and then the baffle comes to like right here. So we're going to trim that off. Even if I don't need it, I'll just feel a lot better about it. And this is the piece in question. I'm pretty sure the pickup tube is going to sit right around here because it comes in line with the dipstick. So I'm going to either take the cutoff wheel or some snips and just cut right around there. Maybe fold it up or do something to the edge. But not really the end of the world, just a little bit of a baffle. And yeah, just take care of that. But before I do that, I've got to clean up all this nastiness. And that's where I trimmed away for the oil pump. Hopefully that should be enough. If not, I'll just keep nibbling away. So I got the oil pan all cleaned up. It's almost ready to go on, except for one issue. So this right here is why you don't over tighten your bolts on your oil pan. So what happens is, when you tighten it and it gets too tight, it starts drawing the metal through, and then that means it can't seal in between the bolt holes. And then it leaks. And then you put gobs of RTV on it, and it's a pain to get off. So don't do that. So what we got to do before any of this is fix that. So we're going to take something hard to back that, usually probably the end of a punch, support that, and then we're going to smack this with a hammer until this is nice and flat. Alright, I found this piece of steel tubing in my scrap bin. Looks like it's going to fit in there perfectly, and then leave the inside unsupported. That way we can smack it down and maybe even get it to go the other way. Alright, got that in the vise. And just do that to every hole. And if you're really good, you can use the ball peen side and try to get it the other way, but that's a little harder, so I'm going to just do the standard. Alright, there we go, nice and smooth, ready for our gasket. Alright, I did end up painting the oil pan because it was out and I had the paint. But this right here is the gasket we're going to be using. This is the Fel-Pro gasket. It's a one-piece silicone gasket. The reason I really like this is because you don't have corners that can leak. And I've had really good luck with it. So this is what's on the Blazer, and yeah, it doesn't leak. The one thing about this though is that it is a little extra thick. And the thing about that is they actually give you new hardware. So in the box is a full hardware kit. So it comes with new bolts, both these corner bolts and for the rails, as well as washers. And then my favorite thing are these guys, the snap-ups, as they call them. What you do with these is you thread them into the engine block, and then you can snap the gasket over it, and then you can snap the oil pan over it, and it acts as a stud that keeps everything lined up. Then you can put all your other bolts in and then take these out. So it makes installing the actual oil pan a lot easier, especially when you're upside down. Or well, when you're doing it with the engine right side up, so you're underneath it. Obviously the easiest thing is engine out on a stand, turn the whole engine upside down and just drop it down. But yeah, these guys make life a lot easier, assuming you have room. With this guy, I don't know if I'm actually going to have room enough to use him, but if I can, I will. Oh, and the one last little thing on this guy, you do need to put, I don't think you need, but it does help to put a little bit of silicone on the corners, just a little bit of RTV. That'll keep it from leaking around the main caps. So, let's get it installed. That's one, two, get in there. All right, little snap-ups are doing their job. Now I just need to put the screws in. All right, one down, like a million to go. So I got the oil pan in, all the bolts tightened up, and while I was under here I changed out the engine mounts because they were a little saggy. Not the worst, but they're cheap enough and the engine's already dangling, so now's the time. You can see the new guy right there by the exhaust. You can actually get to these from the top side, so I did actually do most of it from the top side. So don't think that you need to be crawling under it, just change those engine mounts. You can probably do it with just a floor jack from up top. Anyway, now it's time to set it down and reassemble everything. So stick the starter back on, rehook up my exhaust, and I also need to replace a fuel line that I tore because I forgot that there were fuel lines attached to the frame. So gotta take care of that. Alright, got the PCV lines hooked up, got oil in the crankcase, got water in the radiator. Should probably put the cap back on. So now, you'd think I'd be ready to start it, but what we're actually going to do is I just unplugged the wires to the coil. We're going to crank it to build oil pressure, get fuel up into the carburetor. Hopefully there's no leaks, and then we'll see if it fires up. Alright, I've got oil pressure. Probably like 40 pounds on the starter with plugs. Got fuel leaking. I don't quite know where from. But there's definitely fuel on that manifold. Fuel a little everywhere. Well, I definitely overthought that. Turns out it was just a leaky fitting right there. So cinched that up. So yeah, we are good to go. I'm gonna turn the key and see if she fires. All right. So no go there. Kind of wondering what my timing is. Try try advancing it just a little bit. See if that does anything. Alright, try retarding it. Definitely getting fuel into the bowl. So it's going to be a timing thing. Yeah, let's see. Kind of need my remote starter and a timing light. Okay. Alright, so I was messing around a little bit off camera. Got my remote starter wired up. I wasn't getting a single strobe out of the timing light, so that made me think that the timing was just too far off and the rotor wasn't even touching the pole when it was firing. So I actually just retarded it just a little bit, or did I advance it? No, I retarded it. And then it instantly fired up. So I'm going to have to set the base timing. I'm going to get some fans running, but I'm probably going to end up pushing this outside and doing it outside. But I also retarded it just a little bit more because it lit up and went way too fast. So I'm going to fire it up and see if I can get that idle down. Alright, and if you couldn't hear, I also have a pretty bad exhaust leak on the passenger side. So I'll deal with that in a bit. But yeah, it's doing things. It just lit right up. So that's sounding a lot healthier than it did before. So yeah, we'll take a little bit of tuning. I just dialed it back down to about 15 degrees advance, which is kind of about what we want. Obviously the RPM was up way too high, so the centrifugal advance probably took over. So it's probably actually at 10 at idle. And again, that's pretty fine. But yeah, I'm pleased. I'm not actually getting any more leaks as far as fuel goes. So it's almost time to push it outside and then see if I can't do a little more tuning on it. Alright, so there we go. Truck is running, things are good. It's got a little bit of an exhaust tick, but we're going to deal with that later. But that should be all you really need to know for installing a new carbon manifold. Alright, now you let it sit for about 5 minutes to get all tacky. Now you just need to wait about 5 minutes or so. Now you just got to wait about 5 minutes or so. This stuff's going to get all nice and tacky, and then we can stick it on. Now you just wait about 5 minutes or so.